Welcome to the Place of Rest, where our aim is to give you language that helps you displace the growing confusion, chaos, and dis-ease of our times. In the context of the soon-to-be launched R.E.S.T app, Virginia discusses how understanding your heritage and deep soul hunger provides the structural capacity to self-govern and step into true internal liberty. We hope you enjoy today's conversation.
For our listening audience, I know I mentioned it a few times, but I'll announce that our app launches the first week in August, give or take a day. We'll make other more specific announcements, but we're very, very excited about this app, and there's going to be free and accessible information for everyone without giving up a credit card or anything. I wanted some basic information to get into the hands of regular people so they could begin to think about healing in the context of freedom and not chasing a cure or problem solving. There's something far more compelling, and its process. There's something far more compelling about achievement than acquiring the thing that you're pursuing, whether it is building a relationship, establishing a family, building a company. It doesn't matter what it is. There's something about process that is compelling. It's not the acquisition of this thing that you set out to do, but it's the pilgrimage. And we've been talking a lot about pilgrimage. It's the pilgrimage, and it's the heritage that we bring with us to embark on that pilgrimage. So I'm excited for this app to come out, especially when we are deep into this narrative of why rest is more important than ever. We've illustrated it, what it looks like in the last month. And now we're deep into the pilgrimage and the narrative of what a pilgrimage is and what it represents, why it's important to us. But this concept of heritage, I think most of us don't want to look back, but the heritage is like that backpack that we take on our pilgrimage. And like any suitcase, like anything that contains what we embark on pilgrimages with, we have to change it out. We have to put new things in. We have to resupply it with things that we're going to need for our trip. So I'm excited that at the tail end of this discussion on heritage, the app's going to be launched, because I think we're going to be able to put practical things in the hands of our listeners that is going to be very compelling to them. On the front end, you're going to be able to access some basic things in the first few modules. And then, of course, if you like what you're getting, we invite you for 1 year to subscribe to the app. So I'm very excited about that. We're not pivoting, we're expanding. The 40 days of rest is thick, it's dense, and it is the fruit of pre-recorded conversations and teachings that we had many, many years ago. We have worked through and flushed out and changed to facilitate consumption and to facilitate use of the information in such specific ways that we felt like the 40 days of rest needed to be 40 weeks so people could embark on a living rest program. Because as they embark, if the shift goes from, the pivot is there, by the way. The pivot is going from 40 days of rest to a 40 weeks of rest. So the pivot is there. The information, again, is too dense. It's too concentrated. So we needed to expand it so that people can have transformative experiences instead of provocative information. The 40 weeks of rest really was provocative information that caused you to think about yourself and your very constituents, your spirit, your soul, and your body very differently. The 40 weeks of rest is going to take those ideas and principles and an IV drip, give you information that you can begin to finally understand, and you can apply it to suit your specific and direct personal needs, but those of your relationships, your company, your businesses, your spheres of influence and structures of authority. So I'm excited about that. The app is a whole other beast. It's not a pivot. The app is, in fact, an entirely new, exciting tool that we have. And that's where you get a snapshot of what you can invest in to do the Living R.E.S.T program. But it's immediate. It's instant. The first module that we're going to release that will be free will be on helping you understand why R.E.S.T. It's a 5-minute video from me. It's going to give you a little short, brief exam that'll help you understand how to access your hopes, your dreams, your fears, your passions, the things, this hunger that you have within your soul. And it'll help you understand when you are compelled to pursue and accomplish those things. One is the result of the function of your soul. The other is the result of your central nervous system. And they accomplish very little different things, and they'll show up in very different ways in your life. One will expand your life. The other will diminish your life on the short or long term or long run. So that first module on why R.E.S.T. is going to help you understand why we do what we do, but it'll help you identify the deepest hunger of your soul and what it looks like in practical ways in your life. And the aim is for them to say, wait a minute, wow, I never knew that before. This changes everything. I'm not a bad person. It's just, I don't understand the difference between fulfilling the deepest desires of my heart that expand my life and the life of others, and why I keep finding myself in these difficult situations where I'm destructive to myself and others. We're going to help you identify why. What's driving, what's your hunger, and how you're satisfying it, and why your life is playing out as it does in these specific areas. There's a parent, for example, that says, I have 3 children. They're completely different. I have no idea how to reach them. That parent can have for that child an account, for example, and have it uniquely set up to identify, understand, and protect and grow the identity, if you will, of that child through the resources we're going to be offering them through that app. And all their medical records, by the way, everything you can imagine under the sun that needs to be completely out of the reach of every institution you can possibly think of can be stored there in the Ever Better platform around that app. But in the most practical ways, a parent that's confused can not just put that app there, but if they contact us, we can do a scan for that child so that parent can understand what that child is carrying, and we can put that information and those data points up for that parent to access. Because see, there's so much hidden that our body's carrying that we know nothing of. And then, of course, the curriculum that follows and all the educational material that follows will help that parent make decisions according to those things. That app is wonderful for a teenager that is depressed and isn't coming out of their room, and for a parent to go in and say, honey, I know that I've noticed that you're distant and something seems to be a little off. You're really processing a lot of things. So I just wanted to give you access to this. Here, listen to this 5-minute thing and see if you find something compelling and useful that I'm happy to talk to you about after. I'm doing this work myself and I'm finding it very useful. I'm finally able to hear some of the things you've been trying to tell me for a long time, for example. An executive that is really looking at a significant career change and doesn't understand why they feel dead inside in spite of success that they've enjoyed. Another executive might say, no matter what I do, I always fail. And I feel like a boat, a ship in a bay, and I can't get out. That executive might might use the same information very differently. So this first module, Why Rest, is really about identifying the confusion, chaos, and disease that is upon the individual and help them identify do a baseline on the state of affairs within themselves. And I think I want to inspire everyone and encourage them. You don't have to forfeit your sovereignty to a professional to accomplish these things. You need tools and resources to understand how to do this. And that's what this global app is designed for. It's being developed by some brilliant people that are going to help you make sense of the data points you give us and give meaningful information back to you about very practical things that will change your perspective and broaden your understanding of practical things you would have otherwise missed. We want to disperse the information. It's for educational purposes. It's to help people clear the fog of war. It feels like we are in a state of unprecedented confusion, chaos, and disease. I say this all the time, and people don't know where to go, who to trust, and where to begin. So we invite them to pause and reason. Though our conflicts are as red as scarlet, there's these universal principles, these ideas woven into the tapestry of design that can invite us into this place to reason well. And something is made whole. The fog of war can be cleared up really quickly when we stop and reason. Wow, I never thought about the fact that I am a triune being having a human experience in time for a designated period of time. That's it. I'm here for a short period of time. And Virginia, or the team at R.E.S.T, calls this time a pilgrimage. We're on a pilgrimage through time, and we carry a backpack. We carry supplies, and we often refer to that as as our heritage. And of course, life is a long haul, and on that pilgrimage, we have these tools and these resources we come into time with, but we need different things at different times for different reasons. And I guess we're trying to serve those on a silver platter to our listening audience so that they can do one simple thing: be fruitful and multiply their hopes, their dreams, and understand their fears and their passions. But we want them to be fruitful and multiply, to subdue and have dominion over their fears and their passions. And that's why we're giving this information and putting it directly into their hands. They can discern for themselves the ideas that expand life and the ideas that are going to diminish their life. They don't need us to interpret that information. We're just going to help them identify beyond a single shadow of a doubt the war that rages within them. And we can do that because of the work of Dr. Otis Ledbetter, where he found in ancient documents a conversation, a story that helps us understand those things that are at war within us. Until the person can identify and not be ashamed of their limitations, they will never seek freedom, because it takes a lot of energy to pretend everything's okay and to try to convince the rest of the world that you're okay and everything's wonderful. and all is well with the world. And it's such a departure from reality that that's my great challenge, is helping people understand and become comfortable with their own limitations. Thankfully, we have data points. We have very specific data points that we're able to identify very quickly and put it before them for their consideration. And when people have that information at their disposal, then they get to decide what they want to do with it.
Are you listening to today's episode yet feel the tug of modern confusion in your life? Virginia has spent decades helping individuals unwrap complex systems to find clarity, order, and ease. In order to move from simply listening to a broadcast into experiencing a conversation, we discovered a space to gather, ask questions, and expand our reasoning together. That is why R.E.S.T with Virginia Dixon is officially expanding to Substack. We are inviting you to step out of passive consumption and join us at virginiadixon.substack.com. Right now, on our platform, you can post your questions about these episodes, learn the laws of nature and self-evident truths that speak to our natural affections, and discover how to secure external freedom by accessing internal liberty through exercising self-governance with Virginia. Don't forfeit your personal government to the noise of a chaotic world. Subscribe today at virginiadixon.substack.com. Join the conversation and let us heal the heart of this generation together.
But I'll bring them to the point through listening very, very carefully with my heart, hearing everything they're telling me, listening with my heart, and helping them become comfortable with their pain, with their shame, with their tears. And then bringing them into a deep understanding that the frailty of the human condition is something we all share. And then I think we're able to pierce the darkness that comes with regret, with shame, with, honestly, wishing I could do it all over again, but there's not enough time. Something happens when they begin to see the beauty in suffering, and they begin to realize that they ran from suffering all their life instead of running into it. So there's something about our experiences that are complicated. There are many things about our experiences that are very complicated, but we don't extend ourselves enough grace. I think there's this sense to know and to be and to do everything right. My mentor of 26 years, Catherine Dang, she's a scholar of primary sources. She's a providential historian, and she's written many books on history, on world history, I might add. She said something I'll never forget, and it's been resonating in my mind and in my heart, and I've been really praying about it for some time since. She said, Virginia, there was a long pause, and she had this funny look on her face. Let me just preface it by saying that. And I said, what are you thinking? And she said, it just occurred to me why you walk in so much authority. And I said, never thought about it. To be honest with you, I just think about the next thing I wonder about, the next thing I want to understand. And she said, right. But you do not negotiate with your ignorance, nor do you run from it. For you, ignorance is an invitation to wonder and discover. It's kind of an invitation for an adventure, and you're not afraid to talk about it in those terms. And that's what gives you authority, because you're without contradiction, because you're always looking for the truth of a thing. And when you can't find it, you put it on the margin until you develop measures of clarity around it. And I think that's the aim of all of these resources, of all of our work, is to give people tools and resources to displace what ails them, so they can live in the freedom of wholeness. I think it comes to, if I had to summarize it, I think become curious about the limitations and the frailty of our common humanity and extend yourself and others grace in the process of that discovery. That's the beginning of healing, by the way, and tears. Of course, let's not leave out the tears. I always know somebody's healing when they find their tears. The app is an invitation to expand your prism from what you think you see and know and understand to realities that are beyond your comprehension. For example, we all have hopes and dreams, but when have we associated those hopes and dreams with this deep hunger that lies within me that I have to satisfy? I don't know. That's not how I ever thought about things I should do with my life or things that were of interest to me. I never thought about him as a deep soul hunger. I know they're there. We all know there's something inside that intuitively says, I was meant for more than this. And I'm terrified, but I'm going to take this risk. Or I know this doesn't mean anything to anybody, but I think this is the right thing to do because of X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to do it. There's that thing that says, psst, 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 over here. And I don't know, I think that's an invitation from the heart of God to cooperate, to collaborate, to find meaning and purpose to this great adventure that we're invited to participate in. And so the easiest way, in my opinion, to learn how to step into and live in the rhythm of rest is to become curious about that one thing that compels us. Why is that? Because the spiritual parasites of the age will always attack your strengths. They'll always go after the deepest desires of your heart and somehow contaminate that. So when you understand the hunger, the things that compel you, you don't take the bait of destruction as easily. You're not as susceptible for things or to pursue things that will destroy you. You will be compelled to pursue them differently. At rest, we get to the mitochondria. We get to the center sphere of communication at the innermost parts of the cell, if you will. So they're not easy things to explain in simple ways, but we can help you experience the difference between the things that compel you and the things that drive you through the app. We will help you understand how you've attached very quickly through the app and the implications it has on your life and on your soul hunger, by the way. And then we will tell you something about that hunger and the pilgrimage that you've embarked on, why you've embarked on it, how you tend to pursue it, and why it may be sabotaging you or not. And we will help you have a deeper understanding of your heritage and the role it's played, the backpack you carry, some of the things that are in there that may be stale and dead and contaminated and rotten. They need to get out, and you need to freshen it up with some new things. So we will invite you into that experience. So here's a call to action. If you have friends, family, coworkers, acquaintances that are in a state of deep anxiety, depression, frustration, apathy. It doesn't matter. When there's any form of paralysis of some kind or another, invite them to rest. Invite them to the Restoration app, where they will have practical tools and resources to rest, recover, and live in the freedom of wholeness. There'll be practical tools that they can access right away to help them on that pilgrimage.
We hope listening to this episode has brought you closer to experiencing the freedom of wholeness and healing. If you have questions or comments about today's episode, or for updates about REST, please visit our Instagram or Facebook at The Place of Rest. If you would like more information about Virginia, or to support and join the cause of rest, please go to theplaceofrest.com/donate or call 949-289-5935. Thank you for listening to Rest with Virginia Dixon. We'll see you next week.